Hey y'all, welcome back. Thank y'all for coming back to another Thursday with me. Before I get started, I want to ask y'all, how are y'all doing? Like, how are y'all doing? I've been seeing a lot of things going on, a lot of different posts. And there is so much going on. I want to know how y'all are doing. How are y'all holding up? Are y'all holding up? Because it's a lot going on right now out here. It really, really, really is. And that's part of, I guess, what I want to talk about today too. All the stuff I've been seeing going on, like, it's people losing jobs left and right, people losing their home. Y'all, foreclosures in DFW has gone crazy. And y'all, I'm feeling for people because I know how much work and how hard it is to get a house, to buy a house, and then to lose it. That's why I was so mad at my daughter's dad when we first split up, when he almost lost our house. And I was like, is you crazy? Because when we split up, I decided to just get a townhome or whatever, and he could stay in the house. Because I didn't really like the house when we bought it. It was just really we're creating roots, putting roots down for Carrie, so that Carrie can always have a place to call home. So it wasn't about like, oh, this is my dream home forever, this type. It wasn't that. So I was like, I don't really want to live here. If I can move, I'm gonna move. And so that's what I did. And he was like, I kept getting calls and stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? And then I would ask him, I'm like, hey, are you not paying the mortgage? What's going on? And he kept denying it. He was like, no, I'm paying it, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, And my biggest mistake was I didn't have access to the accounts or nothing, because he always paid all the bills. When we lived together, he paid the majority of the bills. Like, he paid the mortgage, he paid for insurance, for like car insurance and all of that stuff. I paid like the little stuff. I paid the lights, I paid the water, I paid the gas, and then I paid for everything inside of the house and took care of everything inside of the house. And daycare was high. Daycare was more than a mortgage. So I didn't have access to, the account and none of that stuff. And I didn't even know where to look. I didn't even know that the stuff had been transferred to somebody else, like a different lender. All this stuff, I didn't even know. None of that had even took place, because it was never my responsibility to know, right? So when all this is going on, I was like, something ain't right. So finally, my friend that was our realtor, Kelly, she reached out to me. She said, Ashley, what's going on with the house? I said, what do you mean, what's going on with the house? And she was like, y'all are behind. We were behind 5 or 6 months at that time. I think it was like 5 months at that time. I said, excuse me, what? I said, I have been calling him because people have been, like, investors and stuff would be calling me, like, we want to buy your house. I'm like, no, you ain't buying my house, all this other stuff. And so when she told me, I said, what? I said, let's get together. Sorry, y'all, it's a lot going on right now. I said, let's get together and let's talk about it, and you can show me. Because she was like, I can see it. Like, I was like, I keep asking him and he keep telling me ain't nothing going on. I told her, I said, I moved out. Me and Carrie don't live there anymore. So, I don't know. I'm not physically there. I don't know what's going on. And so I was like, let's get together. Because she was like, I can show you. I'm like, okay, show me. Because I keep asking him and he keep telling me ain't nothing going on. And he been handling everything good, right? So I pull up on her and she was like, look. She was like, this is y'all house, and it's listed for foreclosure, going to auction, all this other stuff. And I said, what in the motherfucker? y'all, I was hot because apparently they start calling you after like 2 months or 3 months or whatever. And when I started getting the calls, I started reaching out to him. I'm like, hey, is everything all right? Everything good? You know? And so, long story short, he basically wasn't that he couldn't afford to pay the mortgage out. He was just upset that I left. And so he said he wasn't going to pay the mortgage and he didn't care about this. And I had to break it down and say, sir, do you know how hard it was for us to get this house? You know what, the work, how many different properties we went to look at, how many beds, how many, come on, are you for real? Because at that time, it wasn't really a buyer's market. It hadn't got to the peak of it being a seller's market, but it wasn't a buyer's market. And so I was like, sir, what is wrong with you? I was like, you need to I said, I don't care about you being depressed, but you need to get it together. I said, because this is not okay. I said, you are throwing away our daughter's future because of your feelings and how you feel. Are you for real? Are you for real right now? I was like, if you were not going to take care of the house, I would have just stayed and you could have left if you were not going to keep up the payments and do what you're supposed to do. And so then he was like, well, go get a loan and you pay it or something. He was basically trying to bully me. Nigga thought he was gonna bully me. I said, oh no, brother, you created this problem, you are gonna fix this problem. I was like, you're not about to bully me. Who you think? This is a whole different day and time. I am not no stupid in love little girl no more. Like you out your mind. And so I was like, no. I said, you created this. You need to fix it. Now, y'all, granted, if the house went up for auction, I was going to buy it. I was going to do it. I ain't going to hold y'all. I was going to make sure it was taken care of before it really, got to that part. But I wanted to put fire up under his butt because this was typical Tip. He just lived freelessly, carelessly, you know. I wouldn't say he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but both his parents owned their home. He only ever worked 1-2 corporate jobs. Like he worked for a Kroger grocery store. That's the only job he ever had outside of diesel technician, which he has been since he was like 17, 18. He has not had to work many jobs and like that. So, you know, his mama stepped up for him, his daddy stepped up for him. They made sure he was taken care of. So for him, I don't think it just wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal for him to be running off to Houston every week and partying and drinking and doing all this other stuff, not even seeing your child. We had set visitation. He was not even sticking to visitation at that time. And I would just be like, what is wrong? Like, you know, I'm constantly telling him, like, what is wrong with you? You need to get it together. He's like, I just need time. All this other stuff. Like, no, sir, get it together. Get it together. And so, long story short, it all ended up working out. Still got the house to this day and all that. But he was lying. So then when I said, Kelly, show me. So I know what's going on. You know, and I went to him. That's when he finally broke him. He's like, yeah, well, I didn't want to tell you at first because I already knew you were just going to fuss. And I don't need nobody else fussing at me because I'm depressed and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, that's cool. That's fine, I guess. But we're adults. We're adults. And I need for you to adult to understand, you know. And y'all just a mess. And so I know what that feeling is like, you know, to be sitting in that situation and not have a way out. I can only imagine what that is like, because when that was going on, I had my 401k. I had money I had set aside. I've always been a big person, big on savings. Up until recently, I always kept a good savings. But these last couple years been knocking my head between the washer and dryer. I ain't gonna hold y'all. You know, thing after thing after thing. And so I'm like, I'm finally building up my savings and stuff again, but it's taking forever. And I'm still behind on my taxes. I got to get caught up on my taxes. And I'm like, And this older lady used to always tell me, she was like, just put them on a payment plan and all that. Man, y'all tried calling to do all that. And who got all day to be sitting on the phone? Ain't nobody got 24 hours to sit on no phone waiting on nobody to answer. I said, I come back to it. And that's really how I felt. Now, my business taxes, I always make sure those are squared away because I never want to lose my business. But the personal stuff, I'm like, whatever. It'll get done. I got into October. It'll get done because it's just infuriating. But there is so many people that are going through that. And me seeing it, it makes me, I'm not going to say it just makes me depressed, but it does make me sad because I'm like, man, I can only imagine like how they could be feeling, especially if like they got laid off and they don't have jobs now, y'all. Like they have literally no way, like if they didn't get severance or anything, they have no money. And they are, what happened? They have no money. And they have to figure this out. And I can only imagine being in that situation right now. It's just so much going on. It's so much going on. I thank God every day that I'm secure, that I'm, still thriving the way that I am, because I know that I could be in that same situation, can't pay my bills, don't know where my next meal coming from. It don't take much. And I was explaining to Carrie earlier, because we've been wanting to do the Red Lobster, go to Red Lobster, try the boil thing, which I'm still on the fence about, because I'm like, I really don't want to waste my money, not in this economy, because I just know I'm not gonna like it. But we've been on the fence, and so I told her we were gonna go, but then today it was slower than usual, and by the time it picked up, I had already sat down, and I was like, I'm not going back out in this 100 and it's like 115 index, I think. I'm not going back out when I done came in the air and then sat down. They need to figure this out and get a better rhythm going with these orders. And so I told her, I said, no. I said, I'm not spending, because I know how me and Carrie eat. I know how we are. We'll spend a good 150 to 200 with a tip. Okay? I know how we are. So I was like, Carrie, I don't think that's the move. I want to rent is still due next week. So I got to be mindful of rent. And I was like, I need to keep money on hand just in case an emergency happens. If an emergency happens and I don't have no money, then what? And she was like, yeah, I guess I didn't think of it like that. I said, because, we could go. We could very well go. If you want to go, let's go. I said, but I don't think that's the move when I'm already rent coming up and all this other stuff. I'm the type of person, y'all, I don't like to touch my stock. I don't like to touch my savings for nothing. I will literally struggle to figure something out and pay something out before I sell my stuff or before I pull money out of my savings. And you have to be that way, because if you're not that way, then you'll never have savings. If you're always like, well, I got money over there, let me just penny pinch and then I'll put it back. You'll penny pinch and then you never put it back. So I don't do that. So even though I do got some money saved up, that money ain't for this. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, no, we ain't doing it. No. And so I'm having to explain to her now, like, there are people that are really struggling right now, and we have to prepare for the storm. We don't know what's to come. Charles works in the sports industry, and I'm like, I don't know what that looks like if the economy slows down. What does that look like for him? What does that look like? I don't know. And he and I honestly have not talked about it, but I'm still like, I need to be on my P's and Q's, period. Whether or not, I got to think for all of us, just in case all of us not thinking about it, and that's how I was raised. That's how my great grandmother, she would always tell us all the time, I ain't got it. I ain't got no money. I ain't got it. But when something came down to it, when she needed it, she had it. She had it because she told us she didn't have it. She had money. She would say, I ain't got money for that, but I got money for this. She was very frugal. I remember we used to have a car that used to sit in the yard, and she would still make us walk into town to fetch our groceries, because we had chickens and stuff. So, and she had a whole robust garden, so we weren't going to get much, but we would go get like milk. We'd probably go get like butter, you know, cereal, the stuff that we like to eat, like the cereal, Fruit Loops and stuff like that, because she wouldn't eat that type of stuff. But when we would come stay with her, we would go get that stuff. And so she would make us walk into town, y'all, to go get it. Baby, I say. And I remember one time, my little brother Michael, he asked her, he said, Mama Dot, why we just can't take the car that's sitting right there? And she said, don't you got 2 legs that work? She said, let's go. And I don't want to hear nothing else. And she used to always tell us, she was like, and when y'all go in there, don't ask for nothing, because you ain't getting nothing. And then we'd be checking out, and she'd be like, y'all want a piece of candy? Get some candy. And that's when candy was like, you know, 5 and 10 cents. But then there'd always be one of us that got to get the expensive stuff. We want the M&Ms and stuff, you know, the little tube M&Ms and all that. And so, and normally she would tell us no. And I remember this day, she let, was it me or was it my brother Michael? She let one of us get it. And everybody else was looking like, you usually say we can't get that, so we didn't get that. And then she was just like, okay, everybody want, just get it, everybody get it. And we would start walking back, y'all, and we never would make it back home without somebody that picked us up. They'd ride by, they'd be like, hey, Dorothy, you want to ride? Y'all, we hop in the back of them trucks. Baby, this is when we used to ride in the back of trucks. You can't do that no more. But we used to, baby. My uncles, I remember they used to take us like to the lake and stuff, and we would all hop in the back of the truck. Baby, we'd be rolling on the highway with that night breeze hitting your face, baby. Life, living. We was, man, the good days. Woohoo, the good days. We can't do that no more. But yeah, so she would hop in the bed with him, the bed of the truck with him, and we would hop right on. We already knew, hop right on the back. And then we would drive. He would drive us home, drop us off, or whatever, you know, whoever happened to pick us up. But I'm telling you, the majority of the time, we never end up walking back home. Like, somebody always would pick us up. But she'd be like, no, we gonna walk. And when I say had a clean car, baby, kept the little cover over it, had a clean little car sitting in the yard. Never would let us ride in it. Baby, what? But I know now why she probably didn't want to drive the car. But, you know, but when I say she taught us how to be frugal, how to, you know, work our land, you know. And so when my family lost that property, I was upset. Because remember I told y'all she had Alzheimer's and she ended up passing away from it when I was in the 7th grade. She ended up passing away when I was in the 7th grade. Shortly after, I was probably like in the 9th grade, is when they lost the house. And as an adult now, it eats me up and really burns me up. But I was mad then. I was like, we're just gonna leave, like, because I remember the whole family went and did the final walkthrough and stuff, and I was just like, all of her family photos, all of her stuff is just gone. All of her stuff is gone. Piano, everything is just gone. It was damaged because nobody had been to the house to check on the house or nothing. And I'm just trying to understand why nobody had been to check on the house. You know, we end up losing it. And still to this day, I be like on the map trying to find the address because I want to buy it back. But there's a house that sits on it. It looks like a newly built house that sits on that property. And I don't want to kick them out, but I want my land back. That land belongs to my family. That's how I feel, because to know now how hard it would have been for us to get land, to know that she had land, she was thriving on that land. It wasn't no little bit of land, okay? It was enough for her to have a cow, some chickens, a whole garden, plus we still had a whole field that ran next door to the house. And we used to run and play, and we used to build little forts and all kind of stuff. Like, and to know that she worked her tail off and they had that, and these negligent imbeciles lost it. I know they say to respect your elders, but they negligent imbeciles. Because how? As much money as her children were making collectively, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. None at all. And so for me, I want it back. And I'm telling you, the first chance I get to buy it, I'm buying it. And I don't care. I don't care. Charles might be upset about it. But this one, he gonna have to just understand. This is one of those things he would have to be like, I'm gonna have to be like, babe, this is one of those things you just gotta understand. You're gonna have to rock with me to understand. Like, I need to get that family land back. I do. And I feel like there is nobody else that is going to get it back. Like, there's nobody else that is willing to put in the work to get it back. There's nobody. I don't feel like there's anybody else in our lineage that will make that happen. And so because of that, I'm like, I'm telling you, I'll be watching. But yeah, I feel though, for anybody going through any of this stuff, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay. It's so much going on. Like, you can have a job today, and then tomorrow you ain't got no job. And it's always been like that. Like, granted, it's always been like that. But one thing I can say, I noticed when I moved to DFW, that I always spoke so highly about DFW, was that you could lose the job today, and in an hour or two you have another job. I've always said that about out here, because I noticed that when I first moved here, like, I'm like, man, this is really the land of milk and honey. Like, you can lose your job right now. They can lay you off. Baby, you already got another job in the next hour. You ain't even got to wait a whole day. They be asking, can you start the evening shift? Can you start today? Like, that's how it's always been. It's not like that right now. It's not like that right now at all. Like, I had sent one of the Target team members, because he was saying he wanted to do something different and stuff. You know, he was like, I'm just not getting hours to make the money. You know, we just got this apartment. He was like, I really want to do something different. This is not what I see. Because he was telling me he wants to have kids, or he wanted to have kids. Right now, he doesn't see that being in his future because, oh, I did not know it was somebody else in his car, Lord. That just scared me. I thought it was about to roll into this Toyota. Oh, child. Oh, child. I just seen it start moving. Y'all. Anyways, he was saying that he doesn't see himself being able to have children, and he's in his 20s, early 20s. He was saying because he does not want his children to end up how he has ended up. He has nothing. His parents set him up essentially for failure. Like, they didn't set him up with anything. His parents had nothing. He has nothing. He's working a dead-end job and all this. And so I was like, man, please. I said, let me help you. I say, this is how you get into these corporate jobs. And so I'm telling him, I'm like, there's this agency I know that can get you in. They'll start you out with like a little 90-day, you know, like, I'm giving them a rundown and stuff, right? Y'all, the agency don't even have any jobs right now. I ain't never seen that before. I ain't never seen no temp agency not have work available. And this is one of the prominent agencies here in DFW. So I was like, oh, that kind of really puts into perspective what's going on. You know, like, even more so. Because how they ain't got no what? I was just like, I don't know. I mean, companies fall off, but everybody use them. Every corporation I know uses them. So I was like, that's crazy. So, you know, and he was like, see, he was like, you know, there's nothing left for us. Like, you know, all the resources have been taken by the old FARTs. Which, I mean, really and truly, he's not wrong about that. They took and hoarded the resources. And so there is nothing left to trickle down to the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings, even really some of the 40-somethings. But, sorry, y'all, it's a knot in my hair, and I just felt it. Like, I can't get it, though. It hurts. And so he's like, there's nothing. He was like, I wouldn't dare create a child and have them live like I live, And, that's the thing, too, because Charles does want to have a kid. And I just keep thinking about it. I'm like, I know he's from a different world. He lives in a whole different world. Most people in those type of industries they live a different life than regular folks. But I'm just like, I don't know, like, if I want to, like, when I really think about it, would I be selfish? Would we be selfish to have a child right now in this economy? I mean, granted, I guess I have to look at it from, would we be okay? I guess I gotta look at our, situation. But I still, like I said, you can have a job today and don't have one tomorrow. And you go to work and they be like, oh yeah, we don't need you no more. And that is something that is real life happening. That is something that is really going on, that we are seeing more and more, a lot lately, and so that worries me. And I guess I really need to have a conversation with him about it and say, like, hey, how secure is what you got going on for real? Because I know me, with what I got going on, I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. I wouldn't. Normally, I'm always like, I put myself in a position to where if I have a child, I take care of him by myself and all of that. I am not in a position to take care of no child by myself, pay daycare by myself, pay mortgage by myself. I'm not in no position to do all of that by myself right now. I'm just not. And so children are expensive. Shoot, our hospital bills after insurance with Carrie, we paid, I think, like $18,000. And I think I told y'all it took us 3 years. She was 3 when we paid that off. And that was me and her dad tag teaming them together. Tag teaming all the hospital bills together. So, and like I said, that was after insurance covered what they're going to cover. We still had to pay that much. I had to pay a $5,000 retention fee for my doctor because I wanted the best of the best doctor, And so it was a $5,000 retention up front. Boom, paid that. Then, you have all the doctors, the appointments and all that stuff, you have all that stuff. But then that after bill, yeah, they give you that nice little dinner for a reason. Because, baby, eat up. Because, baby, you gonna need the strength from the steak to pay the hospital bills. And my mom was like, don't nobody pay hospital bills. I'm like, yeah, anybody that cares about their credit does. And I care about my credit. So, yeah, I pay my hospital bills. We paid them in full. We sure did. And so, I mean, he has expressed to me that he does want a child because he doesn't have any children, But I'm like, I don't know if he understands the reality of how expensive it is. I don't know. Maybe he does. I don't know. He's a very intelligent being. So he probably have considered it, but he don't talk. He's not a communicative, like, he ain't gonna always tell you what he thinking. So he probably has already thought about all of that. And he might not have. I don't know. But until I talk to him about it, I don't know. So I guess I need to talk to him about it. But y'all, it's getting rough out here. It's getting scary. And I'm telling y'all, like, y'all need to be on y'all P's and Q's. Have more than one stream of income. I'm telling y'all, because something can be going good and then it's just not going good no more. You got to be ready for any possible thing. You got to be ready right now. Right now is not a time to get caught with your pants down. Especially if you are the sole provider for a household, a sole provider for, baby, you gotta have some backups. I'm telling you, start a little bit. And I know it'd be hard, especially if you already living paycheck to paycheck. It'd be hard to come up with something. But to be honest, there are things, and listen, I know we don't want to do the jobs that are not glorious. I know everybody wants to live this, we want to do the glory stuff. We don't want to do the nasty stuff, though, but there are things that you can do. You could literally pick up trash and take it to the what do you call it? Excuse me. You could pick up trash and take it to the dump and use that as a side hustle. You can do that at night, late at night, or whatever, and you can have your children help you. Okay? You can still work your 9 to 5 and do that in the evening time. And that could still be enough for you to make a little bit of money. All of these apartment complexes are using it as a service. Fine, even if you just get 1 or 2 complexes, that is still some extra money. Dog poop pickup. That is a very good business, okay? That's a very good business, all right? People gonna use that. You just gotta think of something that you can do for free that you really don't have to do anything with. John was telling me that they raised the fees for the dump. The dump used to be like $10. You get $10 to get in, but he was saying you gotta buy a hard hat, or you gotta have a hard hat or something now to get in a dump, which is crazy because you didn't used to have to do that. But even still, you can get a little hard hat from somewhere else. Bump they hard hat, get one from somewhere else. Have you a little $10. You can start with, listen, $10 in a truck. You can start with $10 in a truck, plus a little gas, put some gas in there, okay? But you don't need that much gas to make it to the dump. There are things that you can do. You just have to get creative. Like Adobe then went up to $75 a month. I said, oh no, we about to start. I'm about to do something with this more, because I use Adobe for my personal stuff, y'all. And y'all see me use it on here sometimes just because I'm playing around. But for my photography, for my business edits, for stuff like that, that's what I use the Adobe Suite for. But I said, oh no, they want to go up to 75 from 50. I said, it's time for Adobe to start making me some money. And that's literally how I looked at it. I went and looked at the stock. I'm like, let me look at the stock. The stock then dropped, because I'm pretty sure everybody probably thinking the same thing about this drastic price increase. Because when I say drastic, it's drastic. How we go from $50 to $75 with no warning either, which is crazy, because usually they'll send a warning like, hey, we're going to go up and this and this and that, so you can make adjustments to the suite you have. If you don't, they didn't even send out anything. I just noticed, like, it charged me. I said, wait a minute. And I went and looked, and they had charged me $75. So I was like, oh no. But yeah, I'm about to, baby, Ashley about to be doing graphics for companies or something. I'm gonna figure it out. But you just have to have multiple streams, and there are things you can do with no money to your name, that you can start with no money to your name. You just gotta figure it out what it is. There's a whole book on it somewhere. But y'all keep y'all head on a swivel, keep y'all ear to the street, and try to stay prayed up. I'm telling you, you got to make sure you staying prayed up in this season. In all seasons, you've always had to, but right now, for real, because we are dealing with mental and physical warfare. It's not even just what's going on out in the 3D. Y'all, we dealing with spiritual and mental warfare too. They are really gunning for us. They are really coming for us. So stay prayed up. I'm telling you, I pray probably 3-4 times a day. You gonna have to stay prayed up in this season. Pray for clarity. Pray for discernment. Pray for peace, a clear mind. Ask God to guide your steps. Show you what it is that He needs you to do, He wants you to do, so that way you can do what it is that you need to do to keep your head above water right now. Because right now we are really in some deep doo-doo. I feel like this economy is about to collapse all around us, and it's already collapsing. But I feel like we about to see some stuff we ain't never seen before right here in America. I don't know. I'm not a specialist or nothing like that, but I think we didn't hit a peak, a climax, and it's really a point of no return. And when you get to that tippy top and there's nothing you can do, you can try to keep your balance, but eventually you lose your balance, and what happened? You fall over, right? I mean, I think we have made it to that peak, and so I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I'm gonna tell y'all this: get you a partner, stay prayed up, make good decisions. Now is not the time to be like, oh, let's go on 10 vacations, oh, let's go do this, let's go do that. Now is not the time. You don't know what's gonna hit you tomorrow. But all right, y'all, because it's going on 36 minutes and I've been on here for a minute. Carrie about to be coming out here in just a little bit, so I will see y'all next week. Thank y'all for tuning in again. If y'all made it this far, drop some purple hats down there in the comments, or purple hearts. Drop some purple hearts, y'all, in the comments. And I really do want to know, how are y'all doing? Where are y'all at, and how are y'all doing? Like, what area are y'all in? What are y'all seeing in y'all's communities? Are y'all seeing the same stuff going on? Like, I do really want to know. So y'all let me know, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.